Baruch here with genConnect.com, and we're talking today with Stephen Attenborough, the commercial director for Virgin Galactic. How are you, Stephen?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for being here.
Not at all.
When I first heard about Virgin Galactic, it seemed too good to be true. It just seemed unbelievable that people could now decide to go into space, not being part of NASA. They could make the decision as a consumer. How's the response been?
The response has been phenomenal. I mean, we've been working at this for a few years, and we actually decided really quite close to the launch of the business that we would offer people the chance to make reservations. We needed to do that actually for a couple of reasons. Firstly, to prove to ourselves there was a readily available market for this product that we're building. It's an expensive project. It's pretty open-ended. We've got to do it right first time. And so back in 2004, when I joined, actually, we set up a little website. We'd set up the company actually just after the world's first privately built spaceship had flown, won a big prize. Virgin had licensed that technology, so we told the world what we were going to do, and we told the world quite early, I suppose, but we said we were going to use this technology, which looked to us fantastic. The basic design, we would build something bigger, something designed for commercial service, and we would aim to take ordinary people, you and me, up to space, give them a full astronaut experience. And we said, we don't know when we're going to be able to provide that experience. We don't know what the vehicle will look like. We don't really know what the experience is going to be like. But if you'd like to reserve a ticket, then you can do that, and you need to send us $200,000 up front. And so we then set back a little nervously to see whether there was any response, and we were overwhelmed. The website crashed. We were just inundated with people who were saying, this is so long overdue. We've been waiting for space to be open to non-government astronauts, if you like, for the last 30, 40, 50 years even. And amongst those thousands of responses to the website were a few people who said that we're ready to put the money up now.
How many people are we talking?
So we now have well in excess of 600 people from 52 countries around the world. So we're holding around sort of $80-90 million in deposits now. And they are the most fabulous community. In fact, I've just come back from Richard Branson's island and the Caribbean, Necker Island, where we've been with a group of our future astronauts. They come, as I say, from all over the world. They all have a story. They're very passionate about wanting to do this, and they're going to make a difference.
What are the demographics of the people who've applied? Are there names that we would all know, or are they people who are under the radar?
There are some names that you would know extremely well.
Yeah.
But for most of them, of course, you wouldn't know. But the demographics are interesting. Sad to say there's quite a lot more men than women at the moment, but so I think it's about a 70-30 split.
Wow.
But we do have some fantastic women in that community. Age average maybe 52, 53, but a very wide range of ages, so right through from sort of late teenage to, I think our oldest now is Professor James Lovelock from the UK, who's I think 92 years old. So,
wow.
And what we think we're going to be able to demonstrate is that really it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, and to a great extent, how sort of fit and healthy you are. You are going to become an astronaut. You'll be able to experience what only 500 or so people in the world have ever experienced.
Will you be going up yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the first flights, I hope.
And so when do you think that the first flight will take place?
So let me just tell you, it's good to tell you it's where this program is.
Yeah.
It's very tangible. I mean, we have customers, as we've discussed, but we also have a spaceship. So
You've built the product?
Absolutely. And it's
Wow.
flying on a regular basis up in the Mojave Desert in California.
Testing,
yeah. And now, Virgin's got a big and a great brand. It's done a lot of things well, and we have a great responsibility, obviously, to make sure not only that we offer a very safe experience to our passengers, but also that it's a great experience, that they come back with their lives having been changed in a I hope pretty profound way. So as I said, we had prototypes that flew in 2004. They were built by a company called Scale Composites up in the Mojave Desert, and that company at the time was led by an aviation design genius, Burt Rutan, many people will have heard of. And so Burt and his team got to work after they flew and built and flew Spaceship One, and started work on what we call Spaceship Two, which is the commercial version for Virgin Galactic. And one of the differences about this system is that it's not just one vehicle, there are actually two, because rather than launching our spaceship from the ground vertically, we actually take the spaceship attached to an aircraft up to 50,000 feet or so and launch from high altitude.
What's the advantage of that?
The advantage of that is primarily safety. You know, if you're exploding a large bomb at ground level with people sitting on top of it, you know, pointing straight upwards, then if anything goes wrong in those first few seconds, you're fully committed, and it's difficult to get the people out safely. If you have a winged vehicle which is being launched at 50,000 feet and it goes into a glide, pilots make sure everybody's happy. They press the button on the rocket motor. At any time during the burn, they can, or the rocket motor burn, they can turn the motor off. They've got an aircraft, effectively a glider, that they can come back to the runway, sort out the problem, and start again. And so safety was a huge issue for us, and air launch rather than ground launch for us was very, very important.
Do you think that NASA will adopt some of the technologies that you're actually working with?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, some of these technologies are not new ideas, and in fact, you know, the clever thing about this system really is that it's taken some fairly old ideas which were just ahead of their time, and that was certainly the case for air launch. It had been thought of before, but it was the materials technology, particularly the use of carbon composite materials. So our carrier aircraft and our spaceship are both all made out of carbon composites, so very light, very efficient, that enabled air launch really to work in the 21st century. We have a hybrid rocket motor, which again is not new. We happen to have the world's largest in our spaceship, but it consists of two very safe, benign substances. You can turn it on or off at any time. And then we have an amazing system to bring the spacecraft safely back into the atmosphere at the end of the flight. And that was something that Burt Rutan designed for Spaceship One, and really takes away most of the issues that particularly reusable spacecraft have had in the past in getting through this potentially very dangerous phase of between space and the atmosphere. So we actually fold our spaceship in half effectively in space. The wings rotate up to about 60 degrees to the fuselage and acts like a shuttlecock. So it falls back through the atmosphere, but those rotated wings act as giant air brakes, slows the vehicle very, very efficiently in the upper atmosphere. You don't need a computer to do that. You don't need the pilots to fly a trajectory. It's the laws of physics, which is beautifully simple.
Wow.
And means it should work every time. And then once you're back to 70,000 feet, you're slowed. The wings go back to the aircraft configuration, a beautiful glide back down to the runway to receive your astronaut wings, of course.
And so, what about the spaceship itself?
Yeah.
Does it reflect the Virgin aesthetic, the way we see on the airplanes?
I think so. I mean, it's a stunningly beautiful vehicle. I mean, and maybe we can show some pictures as well as behind this interview. But it's the aircraft, the carrier aircraft, is of a catamaran design, so it has two fuselages with a big space in the middle and the wing going across the whole, both fuselages. And then the spaceship sort of hangs from that center section of wing. So you effectively have three noses, and takes off from a runway. And yes, it looks very beautiful.
And the interior feels like...
We haven't revealed the interior,
Okay.
but we do. Funnily enough, our head of design, who I think has had more fun and more challenges designing the interior of the world's first commercial spaceship than anything else.
No pressure, right?
No pressure.
Yeah.
But he actually designed the interior of Virgin America before he came to us.
Okay.
And
So
he
we
did a
might
lot
see
of work
some-
for Virgin Atlantic, so he is steeped in great Virgin design philosophy.
We might see some purple lighting.
You never know. Yeah. But it'll be a minimalist interior.
Yeah.
This flight, it's sensory overload. You've got some quite high G forces on the way up, which are very exciting. Most people will be able to withstand them very, very easily, but you can certainly feel them. So we need seats that are going to keep people very, very comfortable and safe as the rocket just burns upwards. As you drop from the aircraft, for example, you're traveling somewhere around 100 knots very slowly. When you light the rocket motor, you're in 7 seconds later, you're traveling at the speed of sound.
Wow.
And then the nose pitches straight upwards, and you keep accelerating to almost 4 times the speed of sound in less than 30 seconds. So it's a very intense ride. And then
imagine.
once you've achieved sufficient velocity, the pilots will extinguish the rocket motor, and instantly inside the cabin, you're zero gravity. So from having about 3.5 Gs on your chest, you go to weighing nothing.
Wow.
And we believed it was very important as we designed this spaceship that if people were going to be in zero gravity, they should not be just strapped to their seats. They needed to get out and have fun.
Right.
So immediately zero gravity kicks in. You'll be able to release the seat belt, push off from the seat, and you'll just float up to the ceiling of the spaceship. And we'll have 6 people in a very large, capacious cabin. who will be floating around gently, doing the somersaults, and just experiencing that freedom of zero gravity that we all dream about. And just when they've got used to that, they'll be floating up to one of the big windows, and if you see the pictures of the spaceship, we've put big windows all the way around, because the real deal, I think, for most people for this flight will be to gaze for the first time from the blackness of space down onto the beautiful Earth beneath. And to date, only very, very few privileged government employees have been able to do that. The interesting thing is when those people come back to Earth, they talk about their experience for the rest of their lives.
Unbelievable.
And the reason they do that is because there is something that clicks in the brain, when you see Earth beneath you. So you'll be able to see about 1,000 miles in any direction. You'll be able to see very clear curvature of the Earth, the thin blue line of the atmosphere protecting the Earth. So I think a lot of our fabulous future astronauts are going to come back as confirmed environmentalists. They're going to want to do something to, improve the chances for life on Earth. And so we think that although we're giving people a fantastic ride, it will be a profound experience, and they'll want to do something about it when they get home.
Unbelievable. You've worked throughout this process directly with Sir Richard Branson. Mm-hmm. What's been the best piece of advice or the best lesson that you've ever learned being with him for so much time?
I think that's a tough one. I mean, but I think in terms of my experience and his involvement in this, is that you just have to pursue your dreams. And sometimes the road is a little more rocky than you anticipated. But if you believe in what you're doing, the reason that you're doing it, and that you're doing it in the right way, then he's incredibly good at keeping going, and so there's a determination there which has been absolutely invaluable for us, and not losing sight of the fact that we're doing this to make people's lives better, to make people happier. And so although there's a big engineering element to this project, of course, because safety is our number one priority, we also really look at the details in making sure that these people are not only going to have a safe trip, but are going to have a trip that they will talk about for the rest of their lives, because every element of the experience will be absolutely in the way that Virgin sort of excels.
Stephen Attenborough, thank you so much.
Not at all. Thank you.
And for more with Stephen and Virgin Galactic, be sure to check out genConnect.com.